Hey, hello there. This is going to be a tutorial on how to create a procedural crystal. As you can see here, you can combine them and make them look random. And I'm going to show you how to create some nice randomness in them. So this is the setup that I created with one of the procedural crystals. Here you see the node group for one of them. So we're gonna dive in how to create this thing. So if I go into preview mode, you can see one crystal and it has a few options, a few parameters. If we go into flat, you can see the top is flat. You can also set the amount of sides. When you look from the top, this one has 3 sides, 4, 5, 6. Give it as many sides as you want. Let's keep it at 5. You can set the radius so it becomes larger. You can make really big chunks. You can set the length, make it look longer, and the level of detail, so how many facets it will have. And then a randomness seed, so you can change the look with all the same settings. So if we go into this node, you can see what happens. We start off with a curve circle. So if we make a viewer node, we can see what happens. I turn these ones off and then look at what we have here. So I'm starting off with this simple circle, a curved circle, and I'm setting the radius and the sides over here. Then I'm making the curve into a mesh. So now it's just vertices and edges. And here I am extruding them to make a column like this. And I'm using the coordinates in the Z position. So it will extrude them out upwards. Here I'm taking the length and then multiplying it by -1 so it goes down. I do this because I want the top that I'm creating here to be over here so I can merge them together. As you can see here, I'm joining them, and here I have 2 tops. One is flat and the other is not flat. So this is the pointy one. So I'm just taking the curve mesh, then I'm extruding it to the 0 position, like it's actually this one, but when you extrude them and you use 0, it's not moving, so it still looks the same, but they're actually 2 edges with a face that are exactly aligned. Then when you scale them uniformly just by the top, then you can set them to become a plane. And if we go into here, you see that all the edges that were created in the extrude mesh are pulled inward. So if I scale this up, you see that there's a hole. So it's actually the extrusion is only the top edges are scaled to 0, and then you get this topology. Then I'm setting the position of the top vertices again, but I'm setting them now up in the Z axis, as you can see here, and then you get a pointy top. So now you understand why I have this one extruded down into the -1. So these two, this will align here, the top, and also this one, which is the flat one. Oh no, this is the bottom one. And when we combine all of those, you can see here that it's merged together. Then I'm taking all this and I'm using my floor seal center node, which looks like this. It takes the geometry and then uses the coordinates to put it on the floor. As you can see here, when I go into this one, then do viewer, it puts it on the floor. Here you can set seal, then it flips, it puts it on the ceiling, and here center, it will center the geometry. When I take floor, that is what we want. So now we have this crystal, and then I'm merging it also with the bottom one. Here you can see the bottom one, and then we merge it by distance. So everything is just one closed shape. Then I'm subdividing it. And if we go in here, you see it's just the same column, but then we set the position randomly. I do it by a float of minus 0, minus 0.2 and 0.2, so very small amount, and then you get this. So this looks really rough, not really a crystal yet, but then I merge it by a larger amount. So it will merge some of the points together and some not. If I go in here, you can see how it looks. This can be seen as a crystal, but I didn't like that the whole shape wasn't concave, so you get these cavities. And then I'm using convex hull to make it all a positive shape. And this way I found that the crystal looked the best. Then when I set the smooth to flat, the smoothness, I set everything to flat, and then we get this result. So that's how I set up this procedural crystal. And then in the higher levels, if I go out of this one, the crystal, the single crystal, here you can see what you can make if you combine them. So I delete this one. Here I'm using 4 crystals. I can use the just regular output. So this is one crystal. I made a variation on it, a smaller one, another one which is lower, and then another one which is really small. And then here I have just a rock. This is the crystal that all the other ones are being projected on, and then this is the result. So to go over it, I take all these crystals, then I'm feeding them into the geometry to instances. So now they all become instances that I can use with the instances to point. Then here you see the rock, the bottom one. I distribute points on face. You can see here how that looks. These are all the points that are distributed on this rock. And then I use these points to put on all these instances. I just pick instance, or else it will take all of them together. So if I unclick this, it takes all the instances as one instance, but you want this instance on points to just pick one out of this group and not take all of them and distribute them as a group. Then here I make a selection by the normal. So I say I only want the top of this rock. If I unplug this, it will distribute everywhere all the crystals. But when you want to say I only want the top, epsilon 0.94, I can also set it to 2, then it will take a lot more, or 1. 0.9 looked a little bit better. 9.4 or 9.5, it takes a little bit more. So if you play around with this value, you get more or less. You can also say I want it not on the top but on the side, or in a minus value it takes the other side. In this way you can play on where you want your crystals to be. With the equal, then use a vector and element wise, so it's equal to the top normals. Then when we go over here, we rotate all of these crystals by a random value in the z-axis, so they rotate around all their z-axes. So you can see here, this is without rotation, and then these look the same, and if we rotate them you get more randomness. Then I'm using a mesh boolean to merge them all together. because when you merge them together, your material looks a lot nicer. You don't see the intersections. So if I go in here, you see that now the material looks this way, and when I don't do it, you get more blackness in them because you have overlapping crystals. So usually when you have materials that are going, or glass materials that go through each other, you get a lot of wrong refractions, and that's why I am merging everything together and it looks more accurate. Then here I'm setting the crystals and the stone material, and then I join them all together and you get this simple crystal. I have a few of these variations. So here I'm using a different color. I also have more spiky ones, which are more refractive. They have more iridescent colors. And here I was working on another version of that. But this is basically how you can create these different crystals. You can play around with these values to create your own. I can also show you the material. So here I'm just using noise textures. If I go into the color mode, you can see a little bit better what's happening. This is just noise textures feeding into color ramps and mixed colors. So this one is red and yellow, and there's also an iridescence that I'm using for 30% with a rainbow color. So if you turn around, you see the colors change depending on if the face of the crystal is facing you or facing away from you. Then I'm using also a noise texture, which is stretched and combined. Here you can see the stretching, so the X is large and the Y is 0.05 to make it look this stretched, using it in the generated coordinate to make it give it all these stretch lines, as you see in crystals, which are the grow lines. And here I am combining it. If I plug this one into the bump or taking this one away, it's like this irregularity. It's just a noise texture, and I'm plugging a normal into it, and then it gets the lines. So these are the stretch lines, and this is more of the stone texture that is on it. And when we look in rendered view, it looks quite accurate. There's still a lot of things that you can do with crystals. You can make an internal cracks. There are also tutorials on that. I'm gonna try to find also a way to do it with maybe only a material, but that will be for future versions and tutorials. This is just the procedural crystals, and I hope anyone can use this. You can find it on Blender Market for a cheap price, and I will see how I can create more value in these tools as well. Okay, bye.